Today on Top Gear Rearview, this is a great episode.
Yeah, this is a great episode.
This is a great episode. Hello and welcome to Top Gear Rearview. I'm Jeff, that's Brady. Tonight we're looking back at Series 4, Episode 4.
This episode aired on the 30th of May in 2004, and the star in a reasonably priced car was Ronnie O'Sullivan.
And we got a boatload of challenges tonight, and I'm super excited about them. So, starting things off, we are testing the true range of the twin-turbo V8 diesel version of the Audi A8. James takes a Ford SportKa and tries to race a flock of pigeons, I guess, but still pretty entertaining. We have a couple of the slightly souped up versions of cars we've already seen on the track, the Subaru WRX STi WR1 and the Lancer Evolution 8 MR FQ 320, both a mouthful, putting down some lap times. And then we have car darts, which is hard to explain, but we'll get to it. And then rounding things out with the best power lap in quite a while, in my opinion, the Porsche Carrera GT.
Fantastic episode.
Super fun episode.
So
let's start it off.
James didn't race a flock of pigeons. He raced a kit of pigeons. I was hoping it was something better than that, but it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
I was hoping like a murder, like a murder of crows. But
a garful of pigeons. We should petition to have that renamed.
It's a muffler of pigeons.
A hoka of pigeons.
I mean, those aren't set in stone anywhere. It's just now is. We have documented. It's not written, but audio confirmation that is now called a flock of pigeons. Would you say a haka?
a hoka of pigeons.
Okay, all right, that's what we're going with.
Just because I'm looking at old running shoes, but anyway. Back on car-related
Sometimes
stuff.
I wonder what you do while we're recording these episodes. Apparently shopping for some deals.
No. I literally have a pair of my old running shoes right in front of my face. But that just means I have too many shoes, and they are taking over my house slowly.
Mm-hmm.
So this Audi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 4.0 liter twin-turbo V8s. Big motor.
What'd you say?
That's a big motor. I can't even do the shit accents.
I thought you said big boner.
What? I said big motor. Big boner. Big boner. Big boner. Big boner.
When someone talks to me about a V8 twin turbo diesel,
Fwang! 6 to midnight.
Big motor. Yes, that is a big motor. As Jeremy would say,
motor.
We are treated to a plethora of terrible American phrases and accents from Mr. Clarkson today. He starts off by saying he's Jack Bauer.
My name is Jack Bauer, and this is the most economical 24 hours of my life.
The theme of this challenge is apparently 24, because they do kind of some 24-esque graphics, and it's apropos for the time, but kind of dated at this point.
Collar tug.
So the challenge here is basically driving from London to Edinburgh and back, which is 800 miles and a single tank of fuel, which in this Audi is 19.8 gallons.
Yeah, I guess he said he brimmed it to the very tippity top.
So
pouring out the
gallons.
neck. Yeah. Of the fuel filler neck, and he's pouring out of there. But yeah, he goes all the way up. He says that it's good that it's cold because the fuel's denser. I'm like, okay, whatever.
That's actually valid.
How much density change you getting, Jeff? Did you look this up? Did you run some calculations?
I did not, but I know for a fact that I hear recommendations all summer that when you fill up your car, do it in the morning, and because it kind of off gases less, so it's better for the environment because it's not burping gas fumes. So makes sense, but. The trip will require roughly 40.4 miles per gallon, which Audi said, nah, it's only going to do 37. Good luck.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wonder how much actual hypermiling they do to test their car, or, you can't just go out there and say, hey, do you think this car is going to do 40.4? And Audi goes, sure. And then that gets quoted everywhere. You can't go out there and say that. You have to hedge your bets. They were never going to say that this was going to make it.
No, they were sandbagging a bit, and as noted in the episode, I mean, I got to assume they have some level of creature comforts on when they're doing the testing, like I don't know, at least stereo or something. But Jeremy basically turns it all off, windows up, no HVAC on, and he does say that the radio draws such a small amount of amperage that he is allowed to turn that on, but otherwise nothing.
It's interesting because he's fretting about on his way back from Edinburgh. He's fretting about like defogging the windows.
Yeah,
like, you're not actually turning on a heater. You just have to barely turn the fan on.
No, the defogger actually does kick on your AC compressor.
Oh, it does.
It does.
In some cars,
it has to Well, yeah, I would assume this one because like I know it does in my Honda. It'll kick it on, and that he mentions earlier can lead to like 20% more fuel consumption.
So my cars, all of mine, that is not the case. It's not a requirement. You can turn off the AC, but in my newer one, you cannot put it on recirc.
Interesting. Yeah. So this one,
it'll turn it on, but you can turn it off. Whereas
in
the recirc, you can't turn on.
Yeah, in the Honda, like if you turn on defrost, it default kicks on the AC compressor.
But can you turn it off?
No, that's with the AC button unpushed.
Interesting. Okay, so maybe it's just lying to me that it's actually turned off.
It might be. You might not notice it because the Honda's a 1.5 liter. You feel it.
Yeah,
yeah. It's something. It basically is. It just allows it to essentially defog.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. But I was thinking he was fretting about just turning on the heater. I'm like, just turn the fan to the lowest setting.
Yeah, that's a little different. And honestly, like I'm really curious how it would actually be because the proper or the most efficient way to defrost your windows when it's kind of cooler out is to kick on the defroster, but also crack your windows a bit because it'll help kind of And so it's like, is that enough? Like, is he that worried that he's not even going to crack the windows? Because that would help arguably more.
Well, I mean, he is doing. They kind of go into it. I think they go into it a little bit more in later episodes, but he is proper hypermiling.
Oh yeah,
he is running zero electronics except for the radio. He is
he's manually controlling everything. No
cruise control because cruise control is
good on the flats, but
I guess when you're hypermiling, you don't care that you're keeping the same speed. You care about fuel input. So the goals of the processes are different. But he is doing some proper hypermiling, like never braking and decelerating in gear, not in neutral, and accelerating down the hill before the next one, so you don't have to accelerate up a hill, stuff like that. So he's proper hypermiling.
Now the interesting thing, I don't know, I assume you're a Mythbusters fan, or at least have watched many, many episodes. Yes.
Yes.
So they did a good episode on drafting behind semis and stuff, and I mean, you getting fairly dangerously close, you can get an astonishing boost in mileage, and he never even mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty dangerous.
It is, but I mean, realistically, like you could stay a ways back.
You'd probably have to hit the brakes a lot.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to. I mean, you really got to kind of roll with those guys too. But it's like, I don't know. It seems like I've played with that on the highway when I'm super bored in Wyoming. And you feel it. I mean, you get in the right place, and like the semi just kind of sucks you along.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if the offset of better aerodynamic efficiency is offset by the fact that you have to kind of accelerate and decelerate with the truck.
Yeah, and in hilly country, it's certainly going to be more of a factor.
Yeah, for sure.
He also, I thought this was comical. He says he's got to pee, but he can't stop because starting the engine uses so much fuel. So he's going to use the old trucker trick and pee in a bottle, and then almost immediately stops for the night.
Yeah, right.
It's like, come on.
I mean, they cut out a lot. He was driving.
They did.
So I was going to get to the point. I was trying to figure out what the hell I started down that hypermiling point for. He got to Edinburgh, and he was flipping through his trip computer to see how much time. He averaged 40 miles an hour.
Oh, geez.
So he was extremely hypermiling.
Yeah, 10 hours on the road too. That I could see, he did say that this was one of the most exhausting things he's ever done, and that it will make you late. And on both counts, apparently, he was quite right.
He said that he at one point he had to learn to drive fast, and now he's learned to drive slow. And he was driving really slow because I mean he was essentially on the interstate, the motorway, where the speed limit is 75.
Yeah,
almost everywhere unless you're in like a city, and going 40 is extremely slow on the interstate.
So slow.
It's dangerously slow.
Average of 40. Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
So I don't know how accurate that was, but I noticed that and said, wow, he really was doing this. He was really going for it. But to get a car this size up to 40 miles a gallon, I guess that you have to make some sacrifices, like going really slow.
Yeah. Do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. So this would have been, let's see, trying to see what generation we would have been talking here. It looks like probably a second generation. Yeah, with the V8 diesel. Mm-hmm. 4 liter. They made a number of them actually. Well, a couple of V8s. They had the 4 and the 4.2. It's no slouch, 0 to 60 in 6.7 seconds, which for a diesel is saying something.
Mm-hmm. I mean, twin turbo. You're gonna get once you get them spooled up, you're gonna have a lot of balls.
Yeah. You could get the W12 in this one. That would have been better, but probably not remotely efficient.
No, probably not.
We're talking, but it's, I mean, in the neighborhood of a 4,000 pound car. So it's 2 full tons. It's definitely sizable. And I mean, getting 40 plus out of this is pretty impressive.
Yeah. And so I guess we're not really spoiling it. He makes it from London to Edinburgh and back.
Yeah.
His trip computer says he runs out of fuel about 20 or 30 miles before. He says he can hear the faint whine of the fuel pump not getting any fuel to pump. Mm-hmm. But he pulls back into the same station, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's super impressive. I mean, it's no small feat. Yeah, he did say he kind of felt the hiccup, and I did. He mentioned that in a diesel, like if you run it dry, you have to purge the system, which is I can attest that is true. So it's a good thing. I don't think he quite did, but that would have been a chore to address.
Yeah, let's talk about this American accent a little bit, Jeff.
Oh, it's just so bad.
So at the beginning,
well, we got to put a clip here. So here's a clip.
We're going to put in a bunch of clips. Okay. But at the beginning, he's talking about 24 and how he's Jack Bauer. And but later on in like the second half of it, because they obviously split this one up, like usual, he's talking about like Apollo 13. So he goes into like a different American thing.
Gotta shut the computer down. Gotta shut it all down. Shut it down now.
He's talking about Jim Lovell and Fred Hayes and the other guy.
We've never lost a Top Gear presenter on a mission. It's not about to happen on my watch.
From Apollo 13, and I wrote down Jack Schweikert. Like you gotta know the guy's name.
Yeah, come on.
But he's got a picture of his kids.
My kids. Tell them I love them if I don't make it back. Tell them I love them so much.
He actually shows the camera. I don't know if those are actually his kids or not. I bet they probably were. I bet they probably were. I know he has. I know he has a bunch of kids. So at least 3.
Whole mess of them.
A whole
gaggle.
What'd you say?
Whole hoka.
A whole hoka kids. But yeah, I guess that's all we have to say about that. He needs to work on his American accent, but sounds like he's got the hypermiling techniques down.
Yeah, it was a very impressive feat, I will say.
Yeah. It's a big car to go 40 miles a gallon.
It is, yeah. This kind of leads to some other challenges. They have one, it's still a ways out, but when it is a true, like, each presenter has to choose their car. Mm-hmm. And then they have to get them up to somewhere to turn the lights on. I can't remember specifically what it was.
Blackpool.
Yes. And that one, they don't go with anything quite this grand, but I believe doesn't Jeremy choose a Jag in that one?
Yeah, he chooses like some Jag because he's like, I'm not gonna make it, so I might as well just go home.
Might as well enjoy it, yeah. So it's fun. I mean, the hypermiling is entertaining enough. There was one last series I want to say where he, I think it was the Jag as well, and he just kind of drove it for a while, I guess to see if he got bored. But at least this one had some kind of an actual challenge,
some sort of goal.
Yeah,
you have to do something.
You do, including make just god-awful American accent jokes.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we do that.
Jeff, have you seen the SportKa commercials?
I've seen the one that they showed. I don't think I've seen the rest.
We should definitely put those up into the show notes, but they're great. The SportKa commercials are great. They're all very similar to the one. This one, a pigeon flies over to go land on the SportKa, which is the sportier version of the Ford Ka, which is really bad name.
I mean, it's bad and it's so just blatant, but it's also it's too blatant.
Yep. And so the Ka smashes the pigeon away, and so it's a great commercial. I think there's a whole series of them. They've got a little more of an attitude, I suppose, is what they're trying to say. But James says he feels bad for the pigeon in that advertisement, so he's going to race them. Because that's usually what I do. My daughter falls down and scrapes her knee, and I feel bad for her. So then we immediately race across the country. But yeah, so James is racing a bunch of. I think all actual homing pigeons are extinct. I think homing pigeons are extinct, but there are some other pigeons that are almost as good as homing pigeons.
Okay.
I think I'll have to look that up right now while Jeff starts talking.
So he's gonna race, I guess, a whole flock, because it seemed like it was he's gonna race a pigeon, but then when they actually have the race, they have a truck full of pigeons and they just start opening doors and pigeons just appear. They do some stats, which is odd. It's another car versus not car challenge. The SportKa can do 108 miles an hour, which is kind of slow.
It's a really small car.
It is, and it honestly, the SportKa has a couple styling cues, I think, over the Ka, but I do not believe it has any additional performance.
As far as I can tell, Jeff, homing pigeons are not extinct.
Oh, how embarrassing. No, I lied. There's a slight bump. It is a slightly bigger engine, but still under 100 horsepower, so it's not exactly fast.
No.
Whereas a pigeon can do 70 miles an hour, I assume they have 0.03 horsepower. I have no idea.
I assume it's. 0.03. Maybe.
I'm gonna Google pigeon horsepower to see what comes up.
Yeah. So James, who in later episodes will be known as Captain Sense of Direction, is not just racing against pigeons in a car, but he's got a piece of technology which has seen its heyday and had its heyday left behind since this episode. So it was.
Now I have a question for you on this one.
Extremely dated. That's what I have to say.
So this was the fancy Pioneer Z1 head unit that had the built-in navigation. Did you recognize this at all?
No.
I had a slightly different version of this head unit in my car in college.
What, the Protege?
Yeah, the Protege and then the Saab. Exact same interface and everything. I was watching this with my wife, and she was like, I totally recognize that. And I was like, yeah, that's because I had that stereo.
Did we use that when we did our tire scrub test to get lateral Gs?
Yes, we did. Yeah. So it has the built-in G meter. We used it.
Okay. I do not.
That has been you have utilized that
technology. Yeah. No, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah,
I remember doing the test, and I remember you had a readout for your lateral Gs where I was in my pickup truck. So I didn't have such newfangled stuff.
Yeah.
But, I guess that's right around the same time this episode came out,
right? That would have been in the neighborhood of probably 05, well, no, 06, 07 maybe. But that was, I saw that and I thought it was hilarious because I was like, I totally had a different version of that stereo.
That's crazy. That's funny. So this is... I said technology that has seen its heyday and gone away. You don't really, I guess I'll rephrase that. Young people don't really buy GPSs anymore.
Well, there's a few reasons, because every phone has one built in and everything changes so fast that it's not worth it. And having it built into a car anymore, even that's going away. Everything just has Apple CarPlay or Android Auto now. Yeah.
And at one point I did have a standalone GPS. It was a, present for all of me and my cousins from my grandmother, which is unsurprising.
My wife got that as well. That's really funny.
Yeah, so I have a GPS. I actually still have it. I haven't updated it in 10 years, and I'm sure the battery's dead on it and stuff, but I still own it. It's still in my car, in case I need it for something.
The last apocalypse when the satellites fall.
Jeff, the last time I used a GPS, not on my phone, was last summer.
All right.
Out in BFE, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Your cell service isn't very good. and we were stuck in eclipse traffic.
Yeah, that'll happen. Yeah.
So we had to use an out-of-date GPS to try to find an alternate route. Did not go.
They
well.
have their place, no, but I remember, we got the same thing, the grandma gifts, and that was when we were job hunting, and I was we were house hunting in Iowa, and we had to use it to circumnavigate floodwaters. So
nice,
good times.
Nice. So they do have their place, but their time has come and gone.
Yes.
Since this episode has aired.
Now, they didn't really mention, I assume that was an aftermarket option because I don't see anything regarding, on the Ford Ka that being something that they included.
No.
That was kind of weird. But it is, I can attest, it's a nice GPS.
It seems like a nice head unit. You get a lot of information that is useful for your vehicle dynamics class.
Definitely. One thing that they definitely kind of skimped on, or I guess the technology has gotten significantly better on that, and also on small wearable cameras that you could theoretically strap to a pigeon, because that was pretty bad.
Just like the undercover car review from episode 1.
Just so bad.
Yeah, real bad.
Yeah.
So I guess, Jeff, did your stereo have some sort of live traffic updating or anything like that? Did it have an internet connection?
It had the option if you got the addition. I think you had to pay for the subscription and throw an additional antenna on there, but you could definitely do it.
Yeah, so this had the rerouting option, and James says that it's been moving him around traffic jams when possible, and he says,
"Can a pigeon do that? No. Does a pigeon need to? No.
Because they don't have to." Yeah, that was good.
Anyway, Captain's Sense of Direction has the premier GPS in his arsenal for this race, and shows up to the wrong place at the finish because he plugged in the wrong address.
So good.
Which is hilarious.
So good.
But even with that, they said that even with that, he would have lost that race by 20-25 minutes.
Yeah, at least. I think 30 is what I recall. And 14 pigeons beat him.
Which is crazy, Jeff.
Because there were 1,000 pigeons.
Where are the rest of the pigeons?
They all died. Hit by planes.
They're all just right next to that big pigeon truck where they release it from, with some old lady with a sack of corn, and only 14 of them got full enough to fly away again. Everyone else is still trying to eat.
Yeah. Fun throwback to Series 4, Episode 2, which was Dumpster Fire episode. They made 8 pink versions of the SportKa, or Streetcar, excuse me, for the film Thunderbirds.
Oh, God. Here's another fun fact, Jeff. The original Ka did not have power steering as standard.
Ooh, it's small enough that I can see that not being that big of a problem, but forearms.
That lasted 1 year.
Yeah, they were like, bunch of weaklings in the UK.
Yeah. Sorry, UK people.
Sorry,
Jeff,
guys.
I want to go talk about something else.
Oh, fine. I was going to say the second generation looks better, and they come with shark teeth sometimes. But
they come with shark teeth?
One of the pictures on YouTube has one that looks like it's just going appa choppa choppa.
But Chewy jump. Oh, the Ford Ka individual Grand Prix?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man.
Should we go to some fast cars?
Yeah, let's talk about the mouthy cars that are the Subaru Impreza WRX STi WR1, which apparently is the proper way you say that order.
Yes, sir.
Coming from the highfalutin know-it-all Jeff Lodahl, and the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 8 MRFQ F320.
You put an extra F in there, but I'll give it to you.
Where?
You said FQ F320. It's the FQ320.
I think the playback might vindicate me here, but okay. MRFQ F320.
RFQ F320.
We will see.
Okay.
Yeah, the FQ, they actually have this one a couple of times. The previous one they tested was the FQ300, and they will in future episodes have the FQ400, which is a monster if you keep it in boost, which is tricky because it's a 2-liter and it's a turbo like the size of a dinner plate. So you really have to keep them revs up. But The WR1 is a pretty mild upgrade over the standard STI, and it's basically called the Solberg edition as well, which is in memoriam, or I guess in celebration of Peter Solberg winning the 2003 World Rally Championship.
Mm-hmm.
So they made 500 of those, and I believe more of the FQ320s. So this was kind of no nonsense. I mean, they were just like, look, fast cars, we're going to put them on the track. Here we go.
Well, they really did a pretty thorough sussing out of the cars themselves.
Yeah.
Of the WRX and the Evo 8 back in Series 2, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Series 2, Episode 6. So they didn't really need to do that again, but they just have upgraded engines, so they're just gonna.
That was the
whole
point. Rocksteady
was just to make them go faster, so they wanted to check how fast they went.
Yeah, they basically bumped both by about 20 horsepower, 25.
Which really isn't that much.
I mean, it's enough. It's 8%. It's not terrible.
I wonder what else they did, because one of them did way better than the other one.
Yeah, they didn't do as much to the WRX, and that's kind of honestly been the legacy of that car. Like the STI especially, like it's been on that 2.5 liter engine for like 15 years now. Like it's just it's time to put that one out to pasture and come up with something better.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
On the other side though, like they just killed the Evo and just ruined that. So I don't know which one's better. Let it die a noble death, or let it live long enough to become the villain. I don't know. So yeah, I'm not surprised. Honestly, the Evo, of the two, I think I said this last time, the Evo I think is the better car.
Yeah, I guess they were no nonsense. Let's be no nonsense. Not the actual power lap of this episode. That comes later, but we have prices and we have times, so we're putting them on the list.
Definitely.
Yes, absolutely. So we have the Impreza WRX STI WR1. It did a 129.4, which is pretty bad. That is only 0.7 seconds faster than its previous one, the non-WR1. So not
what was the price difference? Do we have that?
The price was 25,000 pounds before.
Oh, so this is bumped almost by 5,000 pounds. Mm-hmm. Oof, yeah. That's not much performance for the extra 5 Gs.
Yeah, you get 29,835 pounds for this car versus just the 25 before, and you get 0.7 seconds faster. So that did not do good. That being said, the Lancer Evo 8 FQ320 did a 126 dead. Previously, it did a 128.9. So like 3 seconds faster.
What's our price difference there?
$999.
Holy crap!
It was
That's
29
the bargain.
29 flat before, and it's $29,999 this time. So they did way better on the Evo, and as Jeff said, that's kind of the way things are going. Where the Subaru's kind of ho hum, but the Evo just keeps jamming up, especially this Evo 8 range. So that did way better for a lot less additional money. But we're going to need some desirability scores. Jeff, go.
I'm going to go 6 on the STI. It's not a bad car. I would drive it. I would enjoy it. But, it's on the right side of, but nah. And then probably 7 on the Evo 8.
Okay. I think previously when they did the review, I liked the Impreza better. And looking back now, that is a lie. But
you were false.
Oh wait, no, I did. I looked at it. Yeah, I like the Impreza better by 1 point. So I put them in the wrong column here. But I'm starting. It's just starting to be too much. Too little is happening for a car that's the exact same price. I mean, previously it was 4,000 pounds cheaper, which helped it out a lot.
Yeah,
and they were
now it's
relatively similar speeds. Relatively, I'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
A second, 1.2 seconds, which is close-ish. It's not very close. But now they're almost 4 seconds difference for the exact same price. It's just getting too much for the Impreza. So I'm going to flip-flop and make the Impreza less favorite. And I'm going to go... I think I might go the same as... Yeah, I think I'll go the same as you.
All right.
So 6 and 7. Previously, I had the STI at a 7 and the Evo 8 at a 6. So I just flipped them. And then you had them at a 7 for the STI and an 8 for the Evo 8. So you actually went down in score, but same relative position.
I mean, it might just be a factor that like we have the Carrera GT coming up.
Yeah, they look they pale in
It's
comparison
a
a little bit.
benchmark.
All right, Jeff. Well, that being said, the first time we'll look at the power rankings overall, the Evo 8 is now 6th overall on our list with a score of 116.65.
That's pretty
So
solid.
almost a top 5, just behind the Noble M12 GTO 3-liter and just ahead of the BMW M3 CSL. The Subaru WRX STi WR1 is actually 3 places behind its predecessor.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Barely faster, worse scores, a lot higher price.
Yeah.
It got a 107.87, still above 100, but behind the TVR Valhalla and ahead of the Holden Monaro.
Oh, the Holden, though.
Oof.
Maloo, it's coming.
So, yeah, that's our first foray into the Top Gear Rearview Power Rankings. We will be back. I already have it put in here. The Carrera GT. We'll see you soon.
So excited.
I mean, I could just type in our scores right now. I don't even have to ask you.
I mean, you could.
So, Jeff, let's talk about our guest today. Have you ever played snooker?
Nope.
I learned something today. You play the game snooker, but you're also called a snooker if you play it.
Oh, so it's not like you use a welder, but you are a welder.
It's not like you play.
You're not a snooker.
You play like in the UK. You play football, but you're a footballer.
Footballer. You're not
It'd
a
be
snooker.
called just a football. If they want to, I play. I am a tennis.
I play snook, and I am a snooker.
Exactly. So you've never played snooker?
I have not.
It's unbelievably difficult.
It looks so complicated. Like when they have a challenge involved with this episode, and there's like a guy that comes out and pulls balls out and moves them and gets in the way, and I was like, "What the hell are you?"
So you saw all the different colored balls. There's no numbers. They're all different colors. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
They said 14, and I was like, "There's not 14 balls on the table. What's happening?"
there's a bunch of red balls and there's a bunch of multiple colored balls: black, pink, yellow, red, blue, green. And the game of snooker, you break the red balls. It's I believe it's usually in a triangle, like a normal break. But then you have the other balls just sporadically placed at specific spots. So you break, and then you have to make a red ball and then sink a color ball. They call the other ones a color ball. And then you make a red ball and then a color ball and a red ball and a color ball. Every red's worth 1, and then all the color balls have a different point value.
Okay.
So I don't know them for sure because my experience with snooker started off pretty drunk and ended up really drunk. But I know the black ball is worth the most points. So the most points you can get in a game is you sink every red ball, obviously, and in between you do only the black ball. And then once you sink the last red, you start with the lowest color ball and work your way up to black. So you get, I think like 15 points for the red, and then 14 for the blacks in between. 14 of whatever point that is. I think it's 8. And then you get like the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the colors.
Okay.
So the total you can get, the maximum you can get is called a 147. And they talked about that in this episode. Because Ronnie O'Sullivan at the time, and I think probably still, holds the world record for the fastest 147, which means he sunk like 45 snooker balls in like 5 minutes, 32 seconds.
Jeez.
It's only like 5 minutes long. You should really watch a Ronnie O'Sullivan maximum break. He is so good at snooker. I think I'll find a good one and I'll have Jeff put it in the show notes. If you're familiar with snooker, obviously you know who Ronnie O'Sullivan is. But if you're not, go check it out. You'll notice that the balls are slightly smaller than American billiards balls, and the table is extremely bigger. I think it's like probably double the surface area.
Yeah, it looks gigantic.
Which means it's a lot more reaching. It's a lot longer ball travel distance. It's big.
Man, this guy's Wikipedia article is like 3 to 4 times longer than most car articles. Like, there's a lot of information here. Somebody really likes him.
Well, I mean, he is probably the best snooker player he's ever played. So there's a lot of snooker fans who probably look at his thing.
Yeah,
he's currently ranked number 2.
Bonkers. It's weird how like this is one of the sports that is just there's a lot that translate like UK to US. This is not that.
No.
Like I've never in my life seen a snooker table.
Yeah. Well.
So
Ronnie O'Sullivan is so good at snooker that getting the maximum break, like I said, the 147, he's done it 14 times, but there's been times in tournaments when he could have gotten it, and he purposely missed the ball because the prize money was too low. He's purposely missed a ball. Yeah. Like at the very end,
just eyeballs one of the sponsors and just like shoots it off the table
because the prize money for a maximum break is too low, which is just ludicrous.
That's awesome.
Yeah, let's get into the interview. It's it turns out Ronnie O'Sullivan not the best interviewee.
No, agreed. I mean, he was terse. He was. Yeah, he talked about, apparently, I didn't realize this was such a lucrative career either, because like he said he has a Continental GT and a 500 SL, and he had a 318i, which is not an impressive car, but apparently, yeah, he was coming up at this point, or probably already up at this point. But
he's won at least a couple $1,000,000 playing snooker alone.
Almost 10 million, okay. 10 million pounds, yeah.
And then I'm sure he's pretty big in the snooker sponsorship scene.
Yeah.
Big
like over there,
balls and sticks and stuff.
Yeah.
So one thing, they went through a bit of his car history. Apparently when he first started playing snooker, he got like a crappy old Rover 200, something like that. Which Jeremy says is a good idea to give young athletes something like that, so it encourages them to do better. And then he started going through the car history that you saw or that you heard Jeff talk about, the 318. He's currently got a Mercedes 500 with Jeremy rips on him for because it's the slower one. Bentley Continental. They talk about the DB9 because apparently that's the hot topic with all the guests these days.
Well, it's an Aston. Jeremy can't stop talking.
I know, right? But then they got to a point which I really enjoyed. They talked about they have a running log not only of the stars in reasonably priced car lap times, but they also have a running log of how late they show up to the interview, which is hilarious that they started keeping track of that already. He said for the longest time it was Simon Cowell. He showed up like an hour and a half, hour 45 late. Jordan blew it out of the water the episode before and showed up over 2 hours late. Ronnie O'Sullivan, so they're leading up to this. Ronnie O'Sullivan showed up 4 hours early to his interview
to get some track time
because he was super excited to be on Top Gear, which really didn't show when he was talking, but apparently he's a kind of a big car guy and really likes Top Gear.
Yeah,
he says I would have come down here last night if I could.
Yeah, you made the comparison earlier that he was like Kimi Räikkönen, but not quite as funny when you get like the funny stuff. And I could say, yeah, totally see that. Like, just kind of man a few words.
I don't know if he's ever said "nice city" to another city's Twitter page, but it's kind of like that. He's very. You said terse. I get a lot of Kimmy from him. Similar amounts of understandability as well.
Yeah. But so it seems like that's showing up early paid off. He had a ripper of a lap time.
Yeah, he got a 147.3, and he went off the track too.
Yeah, right behind Simon Cowell by what, like 0.2 seconds?
Yeah,
that's fast.
Yeah, that's really fast. Ronnie was slinging it. His nickname is the Rocket, so I guess that makes sense.
That makes sense, Ronnie Rocket. Perhaps the more interesting part, like a terse interview, but they gave him kind of a bonus challenge because this is like a super challenge episode, and they set up a snooker table and said you have to clear this before the Stig completes a lap. And then they showed him on the screen, and it was the Stig in his car,
Mercedes,
in Ronnie's Mercedes 500 SL. So it was entertaining, and it kind of came down pretty close to the wire, but Ronnie did end up winning it.
Well, I mean, it goes to show you how good he is at snooker because he didn't even look like he was trying. He had to pocket 14 balls in about a minute 35. That's what they expected the Mercedes to do, and he had to do it in a certain order.
Yeah.
Which maybe you didn't really know, but he had to go red color, and then the certain colors in an order. And he did miss one shot, but he only missed one.
The last one, right? Yeah.
No, I guess he missed two. He missed the black on the last one, but there was one point in which he didn't have a shot on the reds, so he just kind of scattered them.
Okay.
I think that was another miss, but it's impressive how easy he makes it look.
Oh yeah, he smoked it. So it was fun to watch. I thought I'd put a nice little spin on what was an otherwise meh interview. It turned good.
It was kind of like it had the same energy as when they did the old car versus new car drag races.
Yeah.
The crowd was really into it, and they were like cheering him on, and Jeremy shouting, commentating the lap, and commentating the snooker playing, and
Yelling
it's
at the referee
actually
to get out of the way.
it's actually similar time, so it's coming down to the wire. It was really fun to watch. There's a lot of energy in there. It's worth a watch.
Definitely. Unsolicited plug, because we are not at all affiliated with Amazon. If you want to watch these and you're an Amazon Prime member, totally free right now. I put a link in the show notes. Check it out.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Bam.
So back to challenges. Car darts.
Car darts.
Car darts. This seems way, way fun.
Hawk of car darts flying through the air.
Just a whole hookah. I mean, they went to a quarry. They painted a thing on
There's
the
no
ground.
reason why they did this, but I'm
It's
glad.
so rad.
They're like trying to explain it like, oh, they got these James Bond car like special effects. Just shut up. Just go shoot the cars. It's
Yeah.
awesome enough on its own.
Shoot stuff off cliffs, smash, etc.
Justification not needed.
Put the 19th caravan that you've destroyed in 12 months in the middle.
There is no way they've destroyed 19 caravans in
I
the
agree.
last
I
two
must have did a
seasons.
lot off camera.
There's no way. There was like 4 with that Volvo trying to jump, even if that was last season. I don't even remember.
What do caravans cost in the UK? They're so little over there. They're like $200.
Well, I mean, you could buy a car, a workable Volvo
In
240
theory,
for 100 for £1. Yeah, they're probably like 50 cents.
Yeah, 50p. Yeah,
50p.
we gotta be just dirty cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. They have a giant like nitrogen. Their set of nitrogen tanks that they then choose the pressure and the angle of incidence at which to launch and hit a button, and then it goes, and then it goes towards a dartboard, and it's super entertaining. I wrote down 2 of the cars.
They said it was a special effects cannon, so what they do to launch a car on a movie set.
Yeah,
They specifically call that James Bond, but any movie set will use something like that, or maybe off the front of the HMS Intrepid with a Stig and a Jaguar.
and just
one
in
of
case
those.
You need to kill one of the old.
Did you notice what it said along the barrel of the launcher?
I did not.
It said speculate.
All right.
Was that the name? That's an awful name for a cannon.
Terrible. I mean, do you name cannons? Is it like a boat?
I
Do you
think.
have to name it?
I mean, there's probably like 2 or 3 people whose livelihood depends on that cannon, so you might.
Well, yeah. That was one of the only like James Bond stunt coordinators because they said they're not filming a Bond film right now.
Yeah, they're probably lying about that.
I know they're always filming a Bond film.
But it said speculate on that. What is that all about? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah. It's
what
fun.
cars did you write down?
I wrote down the Vauxhall Astra and the Ford Orion. There was a Fiat too. I didn't get the model, but it was a Fiat.
I think it was
And
a
there was a Volvo.
Was it
too.
an old Punto?
That makes sense. It wasn't a 500. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only Fiat.
Yeah, they gave
Not
him
the
a,
X19.
they gave him a pretty wide smorgasbord of cars. Like they had to adjust for weight pretty good. Like,
yeah,
there's
the
a few
convertible
times,
that like they just blasted so far over.
Yeah, they at one point they said they wanted 1200 psi, and another time they said they want 800 psi. That's a pretty drastic difference in psi. I wonder if they were just shouting, and the special effects guys were like, "Yeah, whatever."
We leave it at 1,000. That's it.
It only has
a
like
regular-
2 settings, man.
On, off, launch, no launch.
Hawka, no Hawka.
They do keep score for reasons
Incorrectly,
but, yeah.
but yes.
Yeah, James loses. That's
Hammond hits the caravan.
He
But it was a
does.
great little
just
episode.
barely. But
Yeah, well-
it's still such a fun challenge.
It destroyed it pretty good. Like he clipped it on like the back quarter, but
it
it's
ripped
pretty,
like a wall off.
it's
yeah.
pretty up after that,
Yeah.
I mean, like
It's,
a homeless guy would probably still live in it, but like he'd be looking to
in
upgrade.
one corner. He'd have a tighter bed space.
He'd be looking to upgrade. Like, it's okay for now, but I'm not really in the market for a fixer.
This won't get hit by a car dart. A hawk of car darts.
I don't want it to happen again. All right.
It's a target now.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the Porsche Carrera GT now?
Such a good car.
They've been talking about this for a while, like in the news and anecdotally about other cars, how it's kind of like this big fancy thing coming down the pipeline. Just wait till we get it on the track to test it. Just wait. It's going to be awesome. guess what? It pretty much was.
It was amazing. I mean, this is the successor to the 959 and the predecessor to the 918 Spider, and God, it lives up to those accolades.
Yeah. That's a lineage that you want to be part of.
Yeah. It's just, it's so good.
It's interesting. He starts off maybe you can explain this to me, Jeff. I didn't really get it. In the review, he starts off doing a little bit of an engineering explanation. He talks about the small clutch, which is why the engine can be so low. That's the reason why I'm sure the crank is so low, because the clutch is small, and that it's got alternating discs of carbon and silicon carbide. And he does like this weird
it's like
makes
a
weird
sexual thing.
For a while there, I thought he was like it was a sexual pleasurable thing, but it turns out I think it was a bowel movement thing. Every time he says silicon carbide, he starts to feel a little sick in his pants.
See, I'm not sure. I couldn't. It was a little hard to read because I watched it with my wife, and both of us took it as a sexual thing.
Because at the maybe, I don't know. He says a normal German would just come out of the lavatory and say everything's fine, but that still could be a sexual thing.
I know. It's kind of hard. It keeps it ambiguous.
Well, yeah, he talks about the clutch and the brakes being silicon carbide.
The clutch weighs less than 4 bags of sugar, in case you were curious.
Were those small bags of sugar or like big bags of sugar? They look pretty small.
They look pretty small, I agree.
Like a kilo, maybe?
Yeah. It was a small clutch.
At
least diametrically.
Sugar? Yeah, it was a pretty small clutch. It was a double plate, but it was surprisingly small for how much power this thing has.
Yeah.
That's got to harness all of it. 612 horsepower.
Many horsepower.
All the horsepower.
I find it interesting. So the lineage that I mentioned, like the 959, that's a twin turbo 6. This is a 5.7 liter 10. And then you go to the 918 Spider, and it's the hybrid with a 4.6 liter V8 plus 2 electric motors.
Apparently, there's not really much to behold between the three. Just best engine we got. Put it in the 959.
Yeah,
okay, next best engine we got.
Yeah, I like that. It's a nice just walk through, and it kind of does like speak to the climate at the times. Like it's 959 time frame. It's I'm surprised that one wasn't a bigger engine, but it was turbos. Turbos were starting to come into their own, and then this one was just like all the displacement, and then back to and then hybrid. So it's a good walk. I like that. I mean, you look at like the similar kind of halo cars for Ferrari, and they're just all V12s.
Well, yeah, there's cars that are V12s, and there are cars that are V8s, and they don't ever really vary out of those, you know.
Yeah,
and I think Aston Martin used to be the same until they just started putting V12s and everything.
Yeah, and the
V8
10s
Vantage
are really only touched by the Germans. I mean, you see them in the Lambos sometimes, and the Porsches. Ooh. And I guess Fords, but that's different.
And the Audi.
Well, yeah, Audi too, yeah.
Yep.
All the Volkswagen Auto Group.
Yep, that's exactly right. It's interesting looking at Jeremy comments that the Porsche Carrera GT, he's not a fan of Porsche's design, but he says that the Porsche Carrera GT is a beautiful car. I would have to agree. It is a fantastic looking car, extremely well proportioned. Doesn't have the droopy eggs. What do you call them? The runny egg headlights.
Yeah.
You know, it's a mid-engine car, so it's got a pretty big deck, but it is a convertible. It is, I guess, a Spider.
So good. Yeah.
And it is very nice. It's interesting. Looking at the 959 in this lineage, the 959 is kind of an odd-looking duck, I would say. It looks a little squat at the back end, and the front end is essentially a 911 at the time, essentially.
It feels like a stretched out in the back 911. Really.
Whereas the 918, the next one in this, is another gorgeous-looking, kind of completely different from anything else Porsche makes car. But I was looking at who designed those cars. There's a different designer for each one, which makes sense. They're about 10, 15, 20 years apart. But the designer for the Carrera GT was Harm Legay, which is a great name.
It is. I feel like the 918 and the Carrera GT really do share a lot of the same kind of style and cues. Like the big ducks on the side and the big wing in the back and the long deck. But God, I think this is just a gorgeous car. One of the other things that Jeremy does mention is it's a handful. This is one of the last of the like analog supercars where you don't have driver aids. Like you drive it well or it bites you.
You got to be good, and even the Stig was having a tough time with it.
He was, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much you follow the nerdery around car culture, but Paul Walker of Fast and Furious, he had one of these, and this is actually the car he died in. And there was many reasons around that, but yeah, it's just it goes wrong. There's nothing to save you with this one. So
and it's extremely fast and
so much power. Yeah. So
rest
on
in
that
peace.
downer of a note, yeah, it's they do put it around the track, and I'm so excited.
Well, real quick, 0 to 60 in 3.9 because of the 612 horsepower. 205 top speed. This is in the Zonda hypercar realm. Purely, for sure. Top of the line Porsche. Deserves
Price-wise
to be
as
there.
well.
Yeah, 330,000 pounds.
That's so many.
Which means we're going to go to our Top Gear Rearview power rankings because Jeff said they put it around the track. 313,000 pounds, not going to bode too well for this thing being very high up our list at all. It's going to get all of the points it can from us on desirability, I'm sure. And turns out all of the points it can right now from the speed score, it just costs too much, unfortunately. They were looking to supplant the McLaren SLR, Mercedes McLaren SLR, and they did by over a second.
Yeah, by a good margin.
It walloped it pretty good. It did a 119, so the first time sub 120 for any car, 119.8 in the dry, which is
so fast,
very fast. And it was another one of those laps. They showed a few times that the Stig, it got away from him on the hammerhead. You got to be on top of it, but his lap looked so smooth. It looked like a real. He probably was getting pretty much 100% out of it that he could.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, I don't need to ask too much, but what would you give a desirability score for this one?
Hard 10.
Hard 10.
Hard 10.
Give it a hard 10. I do too. This is a fantastic car.
Good.
I love the way it looks. Oh my God, if I could ever drive one, it'd be like those.
This is one of the few that I've actually seen in person, like this, the true hypers. I've seen like an Enzo and a few others, but this one I saw of all places on I-80 in Wyoming in a construction zone, and it passed me, and I was like, what the was that? And then I figured it out. Oh, it's such a good looking car.
Yep. So that gives it a score above 100, which, as I'll note here, is impressive for a car this expensive. You got to be really good to get above 100 with a huge detriment of 330,000 pounds. It's good enough for 21st on our list.
That's not terrible considering the price.
Yeah, just behind the Audi RS6 and just ahead of the Ford Focus Mark 1.
And now I had alluded last episode to the price. Now the GT3 RS, the 996 variant, had actually, I mean, it's still holding value pretty well, but dropping into like the $60,000 to $80,000 range, which is obviously well under MSRP. This one is significantly above MSRP. This started in the US at about $440,000, and right now there are 6 for sale on DuPont Registry, none under $700,000. It's so expensive. Oh,
so Jeff, is this a classic or a crock?
I mean, this is a classic in my opinion. There are only like 1,200 of them in the wild, so.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of money.
So much money. It's like, I mean, if I had the money today, I would spend it in a heartbeat. But that's a lot of money.
None. I spoke about it briefly. None of the other cars that are above 300,000 pounds are in above 100 in the final score. The Zonda is the next closest, but it's at 98.9. The Koenigsegg's at 95, and the SLR McLaren is at where are you? SLR McLaren.
Yeah, we didn't like that one that much.
It's at 96. So the fact that this made it over kind of the middle of the road, 100 point marker on the power rankings means that it was extremely fast, and we loved it, obviously. So out of the cars, Jeff, out of the cars that are over 300,000 pounds, 3 of them have perfect desirability scores, and then the McLaren SLR has a 5.
That's because it's just a like hotter 500 SL.
God, this car is so nice.
Oh, love the Carrera GT.
Yeah.
Someday, Brady.
Yeah?
No, but
no.
Well, that about wraps us up tonight. Another really good episode. I mean, they started a little rough, but got series 4 with episodes 3 and 4 has been phenomenal. So we hope you're enjoying it as well. We do have a social media presence. If you want to follow us there, we have a Facebook page, just facebook.com/Top Gear Rearview. We post up articles there that are found around the web and of automotive interest. And Brady also does upload these in YouTube format to our YouTube channel, which you can find by searching Top Gear Rearview on YouTube, if that's your preferred method of consumption.
If you enjoyed the podcast, please consider telling a friend or maybe heading on over to iTunes and giving us a like and a comment. That's not what you do. You give it a rating and a review. You can like and comment elsewhere, though.
You do what you want,
feel.
yeah. I think that wraps us up for the week.
Yeah, I thought there was something else, and there's nothing else.
There's usually something, but anyway, that we'll call that good for this week. So, on that note, we will see you back here next week for Series 4, Episode 5.